Welcome back. This is episode 3 of Sit and Reflect, where I take a question or a topic and I do a deep dive breakdown and we explore said concept or said question that encourages intellectual thinking and intellectual curiosity, because that is what my platform is all about at the end of the day, pushing yourself intellectually. Today's question, I think it'll be a good one. I think all my questions are good, but this one specifically. We're going to be exploring the question of, do I owe them an explanation? Do I owe them an explanation, or when is it justified for me to just move on? When is it justified for me to just go about my day, go about my life, and not feel as if I need to explain every single thing that I do? And sorry for the sniffles, by the way. If you're listening, I have really bad allergies, like terrible allergies. But I wanted to explore this question because I feel like we live in a world, in a society where you have this pendulum, right? And this pendulum, you have one end of the pendulum saying, I never owe an explanation to anyone ever. It's my life. I can do whatever the hell I want to, which I would say is one extreme end of the pendulum. The other end of the pendulum is explaining every single thing that you do down to the T, every single meticulous, or you explain everything to a meticulous level when you don't need to. So the question is more about finding that middle ground, because you can't go through life without having explanations at all. You're going to have to explain yourself to certain people. But there are a lot of people that don't deserve your time, if we're just being honest. So I want to talk about how we can navigate through this pendulum swing and come to a common ground. And I think I want to start with setting some definitions first. Some definitions, that way as we progress through, we have common ground. And I think the two biggest things that I want to define is an explanation, which might be common sense, but I think it's important as we move forward, and closure. I think those are the two terms that I want to preemptively define before we move forward. An explanation is simply just providing a reasoning, some sort of context or justification for a specific action. Pretty straightforward. I don't think I have to explain that too much further, but I'll repeat it one more time. It's providing some reasoning, context, or justification for a certain action. Example: I picked up a banana and I ate it. Why'd you pick up the banana? Oh, I picked it up because I was hungry as shit. How about that? Explanation to justify the action of picking up the banana. Shout out bananas, by the way. Closure. Closure, I'm going to define as an emotional resolution between multiple parties of people. I'll repeat it one more time. Closure is the emotional resolution between multiple parties of people. Two or more. And I think it's important to touch on closure, because I do think that has a huge part in this idea of explaining yourself. A lot of the times, when we think of closure, we're thinking of it in like a romantic sense, right? That, oh, me and my man, me and my man, we broke up. But it just felt so sudden. It felt so abrupt. Why did he do that to me? I already could flip that. Man, my bitch broke up with me and didn't tell me why. Just got up and dipped on me. In situations like that, you would want closure, right? I think any normal person would want a justification as to what brought them to that level. But a lot of the times, fortunately very commonly, people don't get that. Right? They just get ghosted. Which I mean we could sit here and talk all day about the whole idea of being a grown ass man or a grown ass woman and you're ghosting people. But it's the reality and it's not going away anytime soon. So I think it's important that we talk about that idea. Or not even talk about it. Face the music. Face the music that people are gonna get ghosted. You'll probably get ghosted at least once in your life. So having that definition of closure, I think, is going to be important as we progress through this conversation. I think I want to start with I think I want to start with the one end of the spectrum where people over-explain themselves, where they feel like they are obligated to explain every single thing. Honestly, because that hits more home to me personally. So, from my personal experience, I've always felt like I needed to explain myself further because I was scared and still am to a degree of being misunderstood. Especially by the people that I hold close to my heart. I don't want to be misinterpreted by the people that I care about because I care about what their perception of me is. I think I've gotten to the point where I don't care about my perception in front of everyone's eyes. I think now I don't want to call myself a quote unquote public figure, but now being in the public eye a lot more, I've gotten used to the fact that people are going to have their opinions about me and I'm just not going to be able to control that. And that's perfectly okay at this point. I've come to terms with it. But if it's a family member of mine or one of my close friends or someone I just keep close to me and they have a certain perception of me, I want that perception to be positive. And I think everyone looks at it that way, that they want that close circle of theirs to always have a good perception of them. It gets to the point that it's like you kind of want to control the narrative, right? Like you want to control the narrative of what is being said about you and who's saying it. So you feel as if you maybe explain yourself to the right people, you're essentially controlling that narrative. Because then you think that, okay, I explain myself, and then that person can now go and when they talk about me, because it's inevitable, they'll at least say the right things. You're assuming that that person's going to piggyback on whatever explanation you gave them, which is honestly just a coin flip. You don't know what people really say at the end of the day. You don't know how they interpreted what you actually said. You think you could sit there and explain yourself very thoroughly, very well, but they probably digested maybe half of it. Maybe half of it. For me, my need to over-explain also came a lot from my childhood. Because I've gone through my whole life feeling misunderstood. I've always walked around feeling outcasted. It's kind of been the theme of my life for the most part. It's been harder for me to find solid groups of friends. It's been harder for me to hold romantic relationships down. It's harder for me to really build deep connection with people. Because any circle I've ever been in, I've always felt as if I'm not supposed to be there. That there's some sort of missing piece with me, that there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me that is now, oh my God, there's a fly in my face. Sorry, chat. that there's something wrong with me to where I feel like that disconnect, that break in that link is what causes people to misunderstand me. It's because, of course they misunderstand me because they don't get this part of me. Oh, of course they're going to misunderstand me because they don't really know me. So maybe I could try to get them to know me. When in reality, simply put, most people don't give a fuck. They really don't. It comes back to this amazing analogy that I was given in therapy that I now parrot to other people. It's the idea of a painter and its painting. When a painter paints a painting, tongue twister, puts it up in a museum, right? People are walking to the museum, taking a look at the paintings. 99% of the people that look at this painting are going to have an interpretation on it that is subjective to their worldview. And I remember when my therapist first told me this, I said, well, if I wanted to sit there and actually understand the painting, why not just go to the painter himself? Ask them their inspiration behind the painting. Ask them what their goal was with this painting. She goes, yeah, that's you. But here's the thing. Most people don't give a shit. Just simply put, most people don't give a shit. And in reality, they will interpret things that makes them feel that doesn't challenge them, that doesn't make them feel uncomfortable. She didn't say this part, but I'm going to say this part. I would take it a step further and say that most people talk a big game about wanting to change and wanting to grow and wanting to develop, but they simply just do not possess the humility to do so. Because people will talk this big game of wanting to change as an individual, but they will not put the work in because they don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations with themselves. That's a bit of a side tangent. Let's get back on track. I also think that over-explanation comes from a little ethics idea too. That we talk about being honest, being truthful people, and that if we give explanations, we are upholding our end of that stick. That we are being honest, that we are being ethical in the way that we. Sorry, another fly. If you're watching this, that we're being ethical in the way we're dealing with other individuals. And I think it's important that we will dive into that further. I think we should probably just dive into it now before I forget. About this ethical line that we constantly walk about it. Where you over explaining, it isn't about ethics. It isn't. I think it's perceived as ethics because we're kind of conditioned to think that, right? That, oh, you should always be honest with people, you should always tell the truth, etc., etc. I think the true ethical, if you want to look at it from an ethical and unethical lens, I think the true ethical way to look at it is to choose your battles. You're going to clearly have interactions with people that no matter how well you explain, it is going to fall on deaf ears. There's no way around it. It's going to fall on deaf ears. Is it still ethical or unethical if you don't give them that explanation? I think at that point it's neutral. And if anything, you're wasting your time. I think the true ethical approach is picking your battles. That's kind of it. That's kind of all I really got. Just choose your battles. I mentioned earlier that a lot of this need to over-explain, at least for me, comes from my childhood. That whole idea of me being outcasted and feeling as if I am not understood by anyone. It is, again, sorry for the sniffles. The allergies are getting me, bro. Pollen's really bad this year. My God. I haven't even left the house yet. So, as I was saying, that's one end of it. One end of it is walking around feeling misunderstood and that I've been outcasted, and that linkage break is probably where a lot of it stems from. But there's some other angles that we can take too that I want to expand upon. First one being emotional responsibility. So growing up for me, I was one of the responsible parties for communicating the feelings of my parents to one another. I felt as if it was my responsibility to keep equilibrium in the house. Mom and dad get along, siblings get along, parent child get along at all times. I don't like when people fight. So I used to take that responsibility upon myself to explain people's emotions to one another the best way possible. That way, in my eyes, in my head, that, oh, this is the best chance that I have at keeping that equilibrium, keeping that peace. And in doing so, I just need to explain. I thought that I could control the environment. I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't. And it's something that I even struggle with to this day. Is that I felt like I always needed to explain myself to my family, or take the blame when I didn't do anything wrong. And I'm starting to get to that point in my life now where, again, sometimes explanations fall on deaf ears. People just don't want to hear what you have to say. It hurts a lot when it's from people that you care about, but that's just the game, isn't it? I also touched upon earlier about the whole idea of self-perception, right? You don't want to be perceived externally by other people as a bad person. Because if you're perceived as a bad person, then what if that word gets around to the girl that you're interested in, and now everyone tells her, oh yeah, Zan's bad news, piece of work, damaged goods. You don't want that. And now a potential. This is just like your brain spiraling, by the way, right? And, oh no, now she won't be into me. Now I just lost the love of my life. What am I ever gonna do? And you just repeat that with every other girl possible, right? Because the way that I used to look at it was, I'd be damned, I lose out on opportunities of connecting with people because other people had something to say about me. So again, it comes back to that whole idea of controlling the narrative. That if I just do my best to try and again, allergies are getting me, bro. My God. That if I just try and control this perception, then perhaps I won't have to run into this issue. Newsflash, it's inevitable. Because again, painter in the painting, right? People are going to take the perception based off of what they want to see, what they want to take from this painting. Painting being your perception, being your image, painter being you, right? I think another good angle to talk about is attachment. Stronger the relationship, the more you feel like you need to explain. Partners, parents, siblings, your best friends. But I would say that's one of those situations where I think an explanation is actually needed. I think in generally speaking, if there are times where you do need to explain yourself to people, it is to the people that you care about. It is the people that are closest to you. Not just every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but your mom, your dad, your siblings, your best friends. I think those are people that need explanations. Like you disappear off the face of the map for 6 months, you come back, your friend's like, where the fuck you been at? I don't got to tell you shit. Um, I wouldn't say so. I think those people deserve an explanation. They were big staples in your life 6 months ago. I think you should give them an explanation. Comes back to that idea of closure, right? Go to your partner, hey, this isn't working out. Oh my God, what? Why? Why? Bitch, I don't need no explanation. I think you do. In that point, I think you do. Because I would say, I guess, when you think about it, is when the action that you've done has a direct implication on someone that is close to you, that person deserves an explanation. It's one thing to be like in a he say, she say moment, little hearsay moment, and then trying to justify yourself there. I think that's a losing battle. Who gives a shit? But when in situations where it's involving another person that you care about, especially directly in these examples, then I think an explanation is absolutely not just warranted, but you need to do it. So that leads right into the next section. When do you owe an explanation versus when do you don't? Establish relationships. Close friends, partners, family. People that are very close to you. People that do see you on a daily basis. These are people that deserve an explanation, right? I think we can also look at it from the perspective of all these relationships fall under one specific trait. So like if you think of like a tree, the root of the tree, I'm thinking in computer science terms, the root's at the top. The root of the tree is one trait, and it's respect. People that show you respect, people that actually treat you like a human being, treat you with dignity, these are people that that you should give an explanation to. So you can also expand this, right? Coworkers, your team members, right? Maybe not every single team member, but like your manager, a coworker that you work very closely with. Perhaps these are people that you should that are warranted an explanation. Like you had a no call no show. Yo, why'd you no call no show? I don't owe you no fucking explanation. I think in some cases you might need to, because I mean it's your job and your livelihood you're talking about here. Lock the fuck in. If you've never had a job before, no call no showing is a really big deal. Don't do that. You don't listen. Even if you just call out, right? At least just say you're calling out. You ain't gotta give explanation. At that point, like, listen, just won't be able to come in today. Hope you'll understand. That's it. That's an explanation, low key. Like I won't be here because I got some shit I gotta take care of. You don't gotta go into details. You don't gotta tell me that your grandma fell. You just gotta, but at least that form of communication, right? Which is I think another thing. I think just that form of communication is sometimes an explanation enough, right? Because not everyone's gonna be the type of people that you need to explain every little detail to. But I think even just the communication itself is already enough of an explanation for professional settings. And hopefully your personal relationships are people you can actually talk to about shit that's going on in your life. But when do you not owe an explanation? I feel like a part of this is gonna contradict a little bit what I said earlier, because I said earlier that family is someone that deserves explanations. But I would say that the close people in your life deserve explanations as long as they're willing to actually hear it. Again, this whole idea of falling on deaf ears. Unfortunately, that also includes people that you care about. That there are people that you care about that genuinely just can't process your perspective, cannot process what you have to say. It's only about them and how they feel. They don't give a fuck about what you got to say. You either validate them and move on, but they don't care about what you got to say. So at that point, this is the whole idea of protecting your peace. That, okay, I told you my perspective. I told you where my head was at. I'm owning up to the parts that I did, whatever it may be. If you are not going to listen to what the fuck I'm saying, it's not my problem. I'm beating a dead horse at this point. I'm not gonna continue to beat this dead horse. I'm not gonna do it. At that point, it's diminishing returns. At that point, I'm wasting oxygen. I'm wasting space. My angels writing my actions. Their hands are getting tired for me keep talking. I'll keep on talking, and they just filling up space for no reason, bro. Let them breathe. You know what I'm saying? At that point. So I guess in a more professional way, you can say that if your explanation only leads to more conflict, again, coming to people that not only don't understand, but refuse to understand. That's the other thing, right? I would say surface level connections, people that you're just acquainted with. So most of your coworkers, a lot of people in your social clubs at school, like these are people that don't necessarily need an explanation for everything that's going on. If you didn't show up to this one thing, or if you walked away from this, or whatever it may be, you don't have to owe them every single explanation. I think those are people that you can just be like, listen, respectfully, I don't need to explain myself. I just didn't want to go, or I just, right? Hope you can respect that. Hope you can understand that. And you just leave it there, right? You don't want to be a dickhead, right? If it's someone that you're not close with at all, just an acquaintance at best, and they're like, "Yo, where you been at? Why'd you come to the event? The fuck are you a Fed or something? You don't gotta do all that, right? Just a simple, listen, I just didn't want to go. Okay, but why? Listen, bro, respectfully, I don't know your explanation. And then just leave it there. And however they want to take that, however the fuck they take it. That's the other thing, right? Because you can say that, but then in the back of your head, you're going to be thinking, oh my God, is he going to think I'm a dickhead now? Is he going to think I'm a piece of shit for this? Again, painter in the painting, right? You put your painting out there that, yo, I ain't want to go. And that I don't know you well enough to actually sit there and explain shit to you. Let them take that however they fucking want to. Those other people's perceptions is not in your control. That shit is out of your control. Listen to me one more time. Other people and how they perceive your painting, that is your life, your image, is out of your control. You cannot do anything about it. Nothing. Not a damn thing. So at that point, you just gotta let people be. I don't know if you can hear that. My neighbors upstairs are just fee-fi-fo-fumming around, bro. Why the hell is it creaking so much? Holy shit. And the last point for not owing someone an explanation is just lack of respect. If people are dickheads to you, you don't owe them shit. You don't owe them anything. If there are people that are passive aggressive with you, people that doesn't respect your boundaries, you have no reason explaining anything to them because they're not gonna process it anyways. There's some misconceptions about explaining yourself to people, and this comes back to closure. Like I said, there are certain situations where you absolutely should, ethically speaking, you absolutely should give someone closure. Relationship ending, friendship ending, whatever it may be. Those type of situations where you have direct impacts on another individual that was close to you, you should give them closure for the sake of their mental sanity, right? Don't make them jump through a bunch of different fucking hoops. Just be honest. I didn't want to be with you anymore because your feet are too big. Is that a bit of a fucked up thing? Some may argue yes. But at least now you give them the closure. You probably left them with a lifelong insecurity, but at least you gave them an explanation. But you don't owe that to everybody. Right? Like if you're just meeting someone for the first time, let's say first date, didn't vibe. Just a simple, hey, I appreciate your time. I just don't think this is gonna work. I wish you all the best. You don't gotta give them closure. It's the first fucking date. Ain't nothing happened. Ain't nothing crazy happened to where they left all their chips on the table where they need to worry about that. Listen, if it just wasn't vibing, it wasn't vibing. It's all good, right? Another misconception is that, which I've touched on already, is that subconsciously or consciously you think that if you continue to explain yourself that other people will understand you. That, oh, if I'm able to go and just explain this thing, then it'll be able to make other people understand. Therefore, the narrative is controlled. Therefore, when they go out and talk to other people, the perception is going to be contained within something that I'm comfortable with. But it doesn't fucking work that way. It doesn't work that way. Because again, people will only take from that explanation whatever they want to hear. So at most, maybe half of the shit that you say will actually be understood. Another misconception about explanations is that people think that you being silent is automatically disrespectful. I'm looking at you, brown parents, immigrant parents, toxic friends. Listen, sometimes silence is the only option. Let me say that again. Hopefully, the editing software clips this. Being silent does not automatically mean you're being disrespectful. Being silent is sometimes the only option. When you are talking to someone and whatever you're saying falls on deaf ears or they refuse to see your perspective, they only see things one-dimensional, one direction. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. There's no point. You might as well just shut your ass up and just move on. Those are people that you're not gonna want to waste your breath on. So, what does that mean? Don't waste your breath. Shut your ass up. And then again, that misconception that the more I explain, the more I can control the narrative, the better the outcome will be. Again, doesn't work that way, chat. Take it from me. I tried it. It don't work. But the reality of explanations is that not everyone's looking to understand you. Let me say that again. The reality of explaining yourself is that not everyone is looking for that explanation. Not everyone is looking to be someone that actually understands you. Painter in the painting, right? Nope. 99% of the people don't give a fuck about the painter. But that 1% of people that do, they'll come when they come. But you got to understand that 1% isn't everybody. It's exactly that. It's 1%. One person out of 100 people. And I think a lot of people that we interact with just have this ego issue. They don't really care about your explanation or your justification for anything, but rather they just essentially just want to rage bait you. They just want to challenge what you have to say. They want to twist what you have to say. Again, something that fits their narrative. Comes back to ego. Over explaining isn't some sort of ethical thing. It stems from insecurity. Something happened as a youngin to where now you feel you have to do this. Whatever that may be is going to depend on person to person, but for me personally, it was again being outcasted. It was trying to keep the equilibrium in the house, blah blah blah. And then last but not least, you can be respectful without being fully transparent. You not giving an explanation to certain people in certain situations does not now warrant you to being a disrespectful individual. It's just the only viable option. When you get into this whole idea of over explaining yourself, it does have negative effects. It weakens your boundaries, right? It will invite unnecessary debate that you just don't need to have. And you're subconsciously seeking validation. Again, think about that cycle, right? You're over explaining to the point you're overstepping, right? You're overextending yourself in this explanation. So now you're stepping out further than you need to, away from your boundaries, right? You are now leaving this over explanation up to interpretation, which people can now take and twist however they see fit. And the reason why you're doing this in the first place is because you want to be perceived as a good person. Weaken boundaries, unnecessary debate, and seeking validation. But then on that flip side, the other pendulum swing where I don't owe an explanation to anybody, that still has the negative effects of you just being an avoidant person, immaturity. Like if you don't want to explain yourself ever to anyone, that's just immature. You need to learn how to communicate, bro, girl. You gotta learn how to communicate. That's very important. Because there are people that you will owe an explanation to. Not everybody, but there are some people, right? And I've already talked about this already with the ghosting, right? The fact that ghosting will make some people feel as if there was something wrong with them. So now in future relationships and future interactions, they will now feel the need to over-explain. And simply, you could have just been like, hey, this shit's not going to work, and you can move on, depending on how long it's been. And then also, I guess, with texting culture, right? People expecting instant responses. In my opinion, if you text me, I'm going to respond to you as quickly as I can. That's just because I'm OCD with it. I don't like seeing notifications on my screen. But when you don't text back in a promptly manner, one, as the sender of the text, you will sit there and wonder all these assumptions about that person, how they perceive you, and then as the recipient, you'll also feel this obligation of some sort. Hold on, I gotta scratch my head. Oh my God. Then as the recipient, you're gonna feel an obligation of some sort. I think finding a balance is very important there. Like, I would like to say I would respond to everybody in a promptly manner, but I would definitely say there's more importance over others. Like if my mother texted me right now, or my best friend's texting me right now, compared to someone that I just see here and there, I'll probably be a lot more quick to text my loved ones back. That's all the notes I got. I'm gonna talk about myself a little bit, then we'll wrap it up. Won't make it too long. One of my biggest Achilles heel in my life is the fact that I feel like I have overextended myself, that I have overly explained myself to everyone and anyone in every situation, to the point that now, when I am trying to now set boundaries for myself, that I am now trying to build a sense of stability and safety for myself because I didn't have it as a child, it's now causing issues in my life, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's my professional life. Now, me setting these boundaries at such a, I guess what we would perceive as a later point in our life, it's now had an effect because now the perception of me is changing, and it's in a negative manner. That Zan's becoming selfish, Zan's a dickhead, Zan's this, Zan's that. And as much as I want to make a TikTok and address every single accusation that's on my name right now, every single thing that someone said about me, because trust me, the shit that people say to me gets back to me, bro. It gets back to me. So if you're watching this, I know. Simply, everything gets back to me, bro. So as much as I want to sit there and address every single thing and try and control the narrative on who I am and how I'm perceived, I understand that to a degree I can't. That yes, I have full control in what I make content about and what I talk about, and from that perspective, but how people will take that message, how people will take that content is out of my control. Some people will just be dumb as shit and not be able to actually understand what I was doing. Other people will be able to sit there and understand. But the thing is that when it comes to this content shit, whether people get the message or people don't, I am not obligated to explain myself further. I think I do a very good job at taking in context and nuance in my videos, in the topics that I talk about. I cover multiple angles, whatever it may be. So if people don't understand that, that's not on me. And that's hard for me to internalize. Because I'll get those comments on my videos and stuff where it's clear as day people did not watch the fucking video. It's clear as day that people did not actually internalize what I said. Or they took something I said that was clearly a build up to something else, or it was just clickbait to get people to watch. And they completely missed the point. So the old me would probably want to make follow-up videos, respond to every comment, re-explain myself, but I'm just like, yo, watch the fucking video. like that's the point where I'm going with content. And in my personal life, that also ties back to content. There are people that know me better than I know them. There are people that know me that I don't know at all. So now when I go out in the real world, I get stares, I get people coming up to me, I get people making backhanded comments towards me. It all comes with the game, right? And in this whole idea, my name is brought up in conversations, is brought up within groups of people that I'm not going to interact with directly. I'm not going to be able to go to each and every single one of these friend groups, each and every single one of these social circles where my name is getting brought up and actually address shit. I'd have to be okay with the fact that my name is going to get brought up in all these different situations and circles and whatever, and their perception of me may or may not be true. But as long as the people that are closest to me are not parroting and regurgitating and believing the same things that these other circles are saying to me, then I think I'm okay. Oh, Zan's this, Zan's that, Zan thinks he's this, Zan acts like this. Yeah. Interesting. Are my boys saying the same thing? Does my therapist say the same thing? Does my mother, does my sister say the same thing? No? What the fuck am I worried about? At that point, what am I worried about? I'm not in the business anymore of changing people's minds about who I am. I present myself a certain way. Take it or leave it. And when it comes to just your general day-to-day, I guess you could say, just your day-to-day interaction, your day-to-day image, or just however you go about your daily life. Just I think that's the right attitude to have. Is that you are who you are. You are confident in yourself. However, people want to interpret that, package it, whatever. It's not your fucking problem. It's not your problem. It's not something that we need to stress about. I go throughout my day. Did I wrong an individual? Did I do anything that I would deem unethical? No. Oh, but the people still took it negative. Fuck it. I don't care. At the end of the day, if people still find negative things, and turn positivity or neutral things into negativity, from a spiritual sense, I mean, I'm getting rewarded for all that. I get to take their good deeds one day. I ain't even worried about it. So you continue to yap and do whatever you want. Don't worry. I'm a collect my debts one day. But that's all I got today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I am on TikTok and Instagram as well. It's the same handle, Zan Likes Yapping. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I really enjoy making these, and I hope that you guys enjoy them as well. But until then, I'll see you next Sunday. Take it easy.